You wake up, but something is wrong. Not the room. The room looks exactly the same. Same ceiling. Same faint glow leaking in from the street outside. Same silence. But the silence feels heavier, like the air itself has thickened, pressing gently against your chest, your throat, your lungs. You try to take a deeper breath. It stops halfway. That's when you notice it. There's a weight on you. Not sharp. Not sudden, just there. Resting. Patient. You tell yourself it's nothing, just your body lagging behind your brain. Sleep paralysis. You've read about it, seen the Reddit threads. Totally normal? Yeah, sure. Then explain this. Your arms won't move, your fingers don't respond, even your tongue, dead weight in your mouth. You are fully awake and completely trapped. Your heartbeat starts to climb. Slow at first, then faster, then too fast. You try to shout. Nothing comes out, and the weight shifts, just slightly. Enough for you to feel it settle more firmly on your chest, like something just adjusted its position. The air near your face grows colder, damp, metallic, like a room that hasn't been opened in years. You didn't leave a window open. You didn't invite anything in. And yet, there's breathing in this room. Not yours. Slower. Deeper. Right above you. You don't see it, but you know exactly where it is. Hovering inches from your face. Watching. Waiting. The more you try to convince yourself this isn't real, the worse it gets. Your pulse pounds against your ribs, your throat, your ears, loud enough that you're sure it can hear it too. And somehow, that makes it stay longer. You make one last attempt to move, to break free, to wake up properly. Nothing. Because this isn't a dream. And it's definitely not just your brain glitching. This is the moment you realize something else has been waiting for you to fall asleep. And now that you're awake, it finally has your full attention. That presence you just felt, that pressure crushing the air out of your lungs, that wasn't random. That is how it begins. Welcome. What you just experienced is considered a mild episode, a gentle introduction, because the entity behind it doesn't rush. It doesn't need to. It visits when you are most vulnerable, when your body shuts down, but your mind doesn't. Across Scandinavian folklore, it has a name that most people unknowingly repeat every day. A name you've probably used without ever realizing what it actually refers to. Mare. The origin of the word nightmare. And tonight, we're not just telling a story. We're dissecting a pattern, a presence, a phenomenon that has been documented long before science tried to explain it away. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. You don't have to believe in the mare. You don't have to understand it. You don't even have to see it. You just have to fall asleep. And eventually, you will. You probably think this is a modern problem. Late night scrolling. Bad sleep schedule. Too much caffeine. Your brain glitches, your body freezes, and boom. Welcome to the worst 5 minutes of your life. Convenient explanation. Clean. Clinical. Safe. Unfortunately, it's also incomplete. Because long before sleep studies, before neuroscience, before anyone tried to reduce fear into a chart with percentages and REM cycles, people were already describing the exact same experience. Same pressure. Same paralysis. Same presence breathing in the dark. Different century. Same problem. In Scandinavian folklore, they didn't call it a sleep disorder. They called it a visitation. The mare. Not a demon in the traditional sense. Not a ghost with unfinished business. Something older. Something that doesn't need your belief system to function. The mare wasn't described as something that breaks into your house. It doesn't need doors. It doesn't need windows. It waits for something much easier to access, your unconscious state. Because every night, without exception, you perform the same ritual. You lie down. You close your eyes. You disconnect from the world. And for a brief window of time, your body becomes unavailable. But your mind? Not fully offline. That gap, that thin, fragile overlap between sleeping and waking, that's where it lives. Not in your room, not under your bed, but in that exact moment where you are aware and helpless. Ancient texts describe the mare as something that rides its victims, not attacks, not hunts, rides. A strangely specific word, almost like they were trying to describe something sitting on the chest, controlling the rhythm of breath. Sound familiar? Yeah, it should, because you've already experienced it. At least once. And if you haven't, that's not comfort. That's just delayed exposure. Now here's where things get interesting. Modern science will tell you that during REM sleep, your body shuts down motor functions to prevent you from acting out dreams. Makes sense. Except for one small detail. People who encounter the mare aren't dreaming. They are aware of the room. They recognize their surroundings. They remember every second. And more importantly, they report something else being there with them. Not imagination, not abstract fear. A presence with intention. Watching. Measuring. Waiting for your reaction. So here's a hypothesis that science doesn't like to talk about. What if sleep paralysis isn't the cause, but the door? What if the paralysis is just the condition required? For something else to enter the space between your thoughts and your body. Because the mare doesn't need to create fear. It just needs access. And you give it that every single night. Voluntarily. You lie down, close your eyes, and disconnect. Like leaving your front door wide open in a neighborhood you don't fully understand. Bold move. But hey, nothing's there, right? Good luck with that. You don't get chased by the mare. That would be too obvious. Too inefficient. No footsteps. No shadows moving across the wall. No dramatic build-up like a horror movie trying too hard. Instead, it waits for you to do the work. And you always do. It begins the moment your body shuts down. Not sleep. Shut down. Your muscles go offline one by one. Your breathing slows. Your nervous system lowers its guard. You think you're resting. What you're actually doing is disconnecting control. Then something goes wrong. Or at least, that's what you think. Your mind wakes up early. Too early. Your eyes open. Or at least you think they do. The room loads back in. Familiar, unchanged, safe. But your body? Still locked. No signal. No response. Like trying to move a cursor on a frozen screen. And right there, that exact second, the environment changes. Not visually, but physically. The air presses down harder. The silence deepens until it almost hums. Your chest feels heavier, as if gravity just increased, but only for you. This is phase 1. Immobilization confirmed. You are aware. You are conscious. And you cannot leave. Perfect. Phase 2 begins without warning. Pressure. It doesn't slam onto you. It settles. Slowly. Deliberately. Like something lowering itself onto your chest, testing your reaction. Your breathing shortens. Not because your lungs fail, but because something is sitting where your breath should expand. You try to inhale deeper. You can't. And the worst part? The rhythm of your breathing no longer feels like yours. Then comes phase 3. Presence. Not imagination. Not a vague feeling. A specific awareness that something is in the room with you. Close. Too close. You don't see it, That's not the point. Because the Mare doesn't rely on visual confirmation. It works through certainty. The same way you don't need to see someone standing behind you to know they're there. You just know. And once that thought forms, it locks in. Because now your brain is doing the amplification for it. Your pulse spikes. Your hearing sharpens. Every microscopic sensation becomes louder, clearer, unavoidable. Congratulations. You are now participating in your own containment. Phase 4 is where most people break. Sound. A breath that isn't yours. Right next to your ear. Slow. Measured. Sometimes accompanied by something softer. A whisper. Not words you can understand. Just enough structure to convince your brain that it could be language. That it might be speaking to you. And here's the trick. The more you try to listen, the closer it feels. By now, your entire body is in panic mode. But panic doesn't help. In fact, it extends the experience. Because the Mare doesn't rush the process. It feeds on duration. On sustained awareness. On that stretched out moment where you are fully conscious of your own helplessness. You're not being attacked. You're being held. Observed. Measured. And eventually, one of two things happens. You snap out of it. Your body unlocks. The weight disappears. The room returns to normal like nothing ever happened. Or you don't wake up immediately and the pressure leans closer. Here's the part most people get wrong. They think survival is about resisting, fighting, trying to move, trying to scream. That's a nice idea. In theory. But in practice, you're trying to outplay something in a state where you have zero control. Major skill issue. Because the Mare doesn't overpower you. It doesn't need to. It just waits for you to realize you were never in control to begin with. You keep telling yourself you didn't see anything. That's the part you hold on to. Because as long as there's no clear image, no defined shape, you can still argue it wasn't real. Just a trick of the brain? A shadow misfiring in your vision? Convenient. But the Mare doesn't need you to see it. In fact, it prefers that you don't. Most encounters share one unsettling pattern. You feel everything. The weight is real. The breath is real. The presence is painfully real. But the visuals? Distorted. Incomplete. Just enough to keep you guessing. Some people report a silhouette. A human-like outline sitting on their chest. Featureless. Almost like a shadow that forgot how to be attached to a body. Others describe something less structured. A mass. Too close to define. Too near to focus on. Like your brain refuses to render it fully because if it did, you might not recover from it. That's not a glitch. That's containment. Then there are the rare cases. The ones that push a little further. You turn your eyes. Just slightly. And for a fraction of a second, you almost see it. A face that doesn't hold its shape. Edges that ripple. Like it's not meant to exist under normal perception. And then it's gone. Not because it moved, but because your mind rejected it. Hard reset. But visuals are the least reliable part. The Mare doesn't operate through sight. It operates through proximity. Through the undeniable certainty that something is violating your personal space at a distance that should not be survivable. Centimeters. Maybe less. You feel its presence hovering just above your skin. You feel the shift in temperature when it moves. You feel the way the air changes when it leans closer. And the more you focus on those sensations, the more defined they become. Now let's talk about sound. Because this is where things get consistent. Breathing. Almost every encounter includes it. Slow, controlled, deliberate. Not panicked like yours. Not rushed. Just steady. As if whatever is there doesn't need oxygen, but chooses to imitate it anyway. That's not comforting. That's calculated. Sometimes it escalates. A whisper. Not clear enough to understand, but structured enough that your brain tries to decode it anyway. You strain to listen. You focus. And the moment you do, it feels closer, because attention is a form of invitation, and you just gave it one. Here's where it gets interesting. Not everyone experiences the mare the same way. Some feel only pressure. Some hear only sound. Some get the full package. Weight, breath, presence, distortion. So what determines the difference? Simple. You, your stress levels, your sleep patterns, your psychological thresholds. The mare doesn't bring a fixed form. It adapts to what your mind is most vulnerable to processing. Think of it like this. It doesn't show you something new. It uses what's already inside your head and rearranges it, which explains why two people can sleep in the same room and only one of them experiences it. Same bed, same darkness, same silence, different mind, different access point. Now let's compare. You've probably heard of entities that require eye contact to trigger. Look at them, and you're done. That's predictable. You can avoid looking. You can follow rules. But the mare? It activates when you can't act at all. No movement, no speech, no control. There are no rules to follow, because you're already in the losing position the moment it begins. And here's the most inconvenient detail. The more familiar you become with the experience, the less shocking it feels. Which sounds like progress, until you realize you're not becoming resistant. You're becoming accustomed. And something that used to terrify you is now just another part of your night. That's not adaptation. That's integration. Let's be honest for a second. You want the mare to be something external. A creature. An intruder. A clearly defined other that you can blame, fear, and maybe, if you're lucky, find a way to avoid. Because if it's external, then there's a boundary. A line between you and it. And as long as that line exists, you still have control. Right? Yeah. That line doesn't exist. The mare doesn't just attack your body. It hijacks a state where your body is already offline. That means the only thing left active is your mind. And your mind? That's not a stable environment. Not at night. Not when you're tired. Not when you're stressed. Not when your thoughts have been looping all day without resolution. That's when things start to leak. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. The mare doesn't need to bring fear into you. You already have it. Buried. Compressed. Ignored during the day because you're too busy scrolling, working, pretending everything is fine. But at night, no distractions. No noise. No filters. Just you. And everything you've been avoiding. Now, imagine something enters that space. Not to create fear, but to amplify what's already there. That pressure on your chest? Part physical. Part neurological. Part something else entirely. Your brain tries to explain it. Fails. So it escalates. Your breathing shortens. Your heart rate spikes. Your body enters full panic mode without the ability to act on it. That's not just fear. That's trapped fear. And trapped fear doesn't fade. It compounds. Here's the paradox. The more you panic, the longer it lasts. Because your brain is now feeding the experience, reinforcing it, looping it. You become both the victim and the engine. Think about that. You are lying there, unable to move, convinced something is on top of you. And at the same time, your own mind is intensifying every second of it. That's not just horror. That's cooperation. Unintentional, but effective. Modern life makes this worse. Sleep deprivation, anxiety, overstimulation. You spend your entire day overloading your senses. Then expect your brain to shut down cleanly at night? Bold of you to assume. Instead, what you get is fragmentation. Half asleep, half awake. Perfect conditions. And here's the part nobody tells you. The first time it happens, it terrifies you. The second time, it confirms a pattern. The third time, you start expecting it. And expectation is a powerful trigger. Because now every time you lie down, there's a thought in the back of your mind. What if it happens again? And that thought, that tiny, almost harmless question, that's not fear. That's preparation. Your brain is priming itself, opening the same pathways, recreating the same conditions. So, when it happens again, it feels faster, stronger, closer. Not because the Mare evolved, but because you did. Now here's the final layer. What if the Mare isn't just exploiting your state, but shaping it? What if repeated encounters don't just scare you? They condition you. Lower your resistance. Normalize the paralysis. Make the presence feel familiar. Because once something becomes familiar, you stop questioning it. You stop fighting it. You accept it as part of your reality. And that's the real danger. Not the pressure. Not the paralysis. Not even the presence. But the moment you stop resisting. The moment your brain decides, this is normal. Because if that happens, then the Mare doesn't need to wait for you to fall asleep anymore. You'll meet it halfway. Every night. So, can you survive the Mare? Technically? Yes. Realistically? That depends on how much control you think you have over your own mind. Most advice you'll find sounds comforting. Fix your sleep schedule, reduce stress, avoid screens before bed. Solid tips. Useful, even. But let's be honest. None of that matters in the moment. Because when it happens, you won't remember a single strategy. You won't think logically. You won't stay calm. You won't suddenly become the main character with perfect control over your fear response. You'll panic. Your heart will race. Your breath will shorten. Your thoughts will collapse into one simple realization. You can't move. And that's where the Mare has the advantage. Not because it's stronger, but because it doesn't need to be. It just needs you to react exactly the way you always do. Now, here's the part you actually care about. Survival chance. 65%. Not great. Not terrible. Just unstable. Because survival here doesn't mean winning. It means the experience ends before something deeper sets in. Before repetition. Before familiarity. Before your brain stops treating it as a threat and starts accepting it as routine. If you've only experienced it once, you're still in the safe zone. If it's happened multiple times, you're already being studied. Pattern recognized, response predictable. That's when the percentage starts to drop. Slowly, quietly, without you noticing. So what should you do? Simple. Sleep. Because you don't have a choice. Eventually your body will shut down again. Your mind will drift. And that same fragile gap will open. Just wide enough. Maybe nothing happens. Maybe tonight is quiet. Maybe you wake up feeling fine, convinced this was all just an overactive imagination. That's the best case scenario. But if you wake up and you can't move, don't panic. Don't try to scream. Don't focus on the presence. Because the more attention you give it, the longer it stays. And if you feel that weight again, that slow, deliberate pressure settling onto your chest, just remember, it's not the first time it's been there. You just don't remember the others. So go ahead, turn off the lights, lie down, close your eyes. You've earned some rest. Sweet dreams, if you can.